I never thought I could scream like that. A scream that didn't come from my throat, but from the most primal part of me, a roar from my very soul. That night on the highway, under a silent moon and blazing headlights, I saw something that changed me forever. My cat, Edward, was dying, and I could do nothing, except hold him as his life slipped through my fingers. I'm Keanu Reeves, and I don't usually talk about this. There are things you keep so deep inside that they feel like ghosts. Edward was my shadow, my silent witness. I found him 7 years ago in an alley, soaked by the rain, with a look that didn't belong to a stray animal but to someone who had seen too much. He looked at me as if he recognized me, and I wasn't at my best. That winter, my soul seemed frozen. But I picked him up, wrapped him in my coat, and brought him home. He never slept outside my bed again. Edward wasn't just any cat. He didn't meow for food, he didn't ask for cuddles. But he was always there. In my silences, in my sleepless nights, in my existential crises. He would sit next to me and look at me, and that was enough. It was as if he were saying, "You don't have to be okay. You just have to be alive." That night we had returned from the vet. It was nothing serious, a routine checkup. The traffic was calm. I was driving down a secondary road, one I knew well, like someone navigating their own thoughts. Edward was sleeping in the back seat inside his crate. And then, a brutal sound. Glass shattering, metal bending. My body tossed like a leaf in the wind. I didn't understand anything at first. Just the smell of smoke, the metallic taste in my mouth. And then a shriek. Not mine. A truck had lost control and hit us from the side. I staggered out, bleeding from my forehead, not thinking, not looking. I just ran to the back seat. Edward's crate had gone flying. I found him a few meters away, on the asphalt, barely moving. There was blood, a lot of it, on his side, on my shirt, on the road. I picked him up with trembling hands, felt his limp body, heard his labored breathing. His eyes searched for me as always, but this time they were full of fear. I screamed, like never before, like a child, like a wounded animal. I cried for help. No one answered. No cars passed. There was no signal. We were alone, he and I, as always. I knelt with him in my arms, pressed my shirt over the wound, and spoke to him. I begged him to hold on, not to leave me alone, that I owed him my life, because it was true. Edward had saved me more times than I can count. When everything was dark, he was the only light. When I thought I couldn't go on, he would climb into my chest and purr, as if restarting my heart. How could I let him die like that, in the cold, without being able to do anything? I stayed like that, maybe for minutes, maybe for an eternity, until a car pulled up. A young man ran out. He saw the blood, saw me, and without asking, opened his car. "Come on. There's a clinic 10 minutes away." We raced against time. I held him as his body grew warmer and warmer. "Don't fall asleep, Ed. Stay with me, please." We arrived at the clinic. We entered screaming. Veterinarians, nurses, hands, lights. They pulled me away from him. "You have to stay outside," they told me. I refused. "I'm Keanu Reeves," I told them, as if that would change anything. But it didn't. They left me waiting in a white room, smelling of chlorine and hopelessness. My hands were still red, my eyes empty. Time ceased to exist. An hour later, a woman came out. Her gown was stained with blood. My blood. His blood. He's alive, but barely. He's bleeding internally. We need to operate. Now, do you authorize it? I didn't even let her finish. Do it. Whatever it takes. Do it. The operation lasted 4 hours. For hours in which I paced like a madman. I thought about everything. about how I'd found him, how he'd been my only companion on the longest nights, how he never judged me, how he looked back at me when the world had turned its back on me. When he came out, he had tubes, bandages, and a breath of life. But he was alive. He survived. Against everything. Against everyone. I took him home days later. He wasn't walking. He wasn't eating on his own. But he had me. And this time, I wasn't going to let him down. For weeks, I slept on the floor with him. I fed him with a syringe. I cleaned his wounds. I cried silently. I talked to him. I told him stories. And slowly, like a flower that refuses to die, he began to move, to look at me intently, to purr. And one day, without warning, he climbed onto my chest. And I knew we had won. Not everyone understands what it's like to love an animal. Some think they're just pets. For me, Edward was a mirror. He showed me everything he was capable of feeling, even when I thought there was nothing left inside. He taught me that love doesn't need words, only presence. Today, every time I see him sleeping in the sun, with his healed belly and his calm gaze, I know I would do it all again, that I would bleed, scream, and beg again, because he was worth it, because he saved me first. If you also have a story with your four-legged companion, please subscribe. This channel is for those of us who love unconditionally. And if you've ever felt like your pet is your family, comment below. I would do that too without thinking twice. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not looking the other way. Because in this noisy, hectic world, there are stories that can only be told in whispers. And you, today, were that ear that listens when no one else does.